So cross-site request forgery, or CSRF, is another session management problem. So this vulnerability hits all the applications that set their authentication and session management mechanisms solely on the use of cookies. And yeah, I said earlier that web applications use cookies for differentiating users. But I certainly did not say that this is 100% secure. So allow me to explain. Think of what you need to put into an HTTP request when you perform an action on an application. You need to submit both the data and the session ID to the web server. Now, that way the server will understand it as your legitimate request, and then it processes it. So the server can differentiate you by your session ID. And if somehow someone uses your session ID instead of you, what can happen? Well, here's where the problem arises. So let's see what we have. Open Kali as always, and log into BWAP. Now open cross-site request forgery with the Change Password option from the menu. And here are several CSRF scenarios here. And we're going to look at how they work. So the first one is a password change form. So also open Burp and enable Foxy Proxy. And let's type something to change the password. And we have the request in Burp. And this is the password change request. And this is a legitimate request, right? So I'm going to send it to the compare tool and forward it. And looky here, the password has been changed. So now right-click and view the page source. Here's the source of the form. This form produces the previous request. So don't you wonder if you use the same form in your application? So now send the request to BWAP. How would BWAP behave in a situation like this? Why don't we have a look? So open up your terminal. Now I coded this page which produces this same request as a password change form. You can download it from here. So here's an iframe which requests a password change from BWAP. And we also have a second option. And this one's almost the same as the actual form. So let's look at the values. So these are the values that we want to set as password. And the form submitted by a JavaScript code when the page opens. Okay, so now I'm going to clear all the information in Firefox, and I'm going to open one of these pages from Kali directly. Remember to enable Burp. Now double-click this one, and it will immediately open in a browser, and Burp will capture it. So it's similar to the previous one, right? So send it to compare as well. You can drop it, and here's the source of the page. Okay, so go to Comparer. So Comparer is yet another valuable tool in Burp Suite. And both requests are here. And now click on Words in order to compare them word for word. And here is the result. So the request on the right is our fake request. It's almost the same to the actual one. Can you see the difference? There's an important small header. So it's not the same. It's the cookie header. The request on the left is a legitimate and authenticated request. The other is not. So the browser adds the cookie to the original request because the actual user triggers the password change form. So anyway, we can create such a fake request, but we cannot send it to the server on behalf of the actual user because we need the user's session ID. So we need to force the user to open our page while he is displaying the same page. Okay, so close it up and clear it. So I'm going to go back to Burp here again, and I will open that page. And remember to enable burp. So I'm going to change the password again. Send it to comparer as well. Okay, so as a victim, I'm displaying the page that contains an insecure form. Now, at the same time, I'll open a suspicious application in another tab in the same browser. And again, you need to use some social engineering techniques in order to deceive the victim. I almost forgot to enable burp again. Okay, so refresh the suspicious page. And this is a fake request. Send it to comparer as well. And just leave it. Now go to comparer and click to see the difference between them. So this time there is no important difference because the browser tries to request a server that is the server of the application that's opened in another tab. So our fake request will go to the BWAP server, and naturally, the browser adds a cookie header to the request. So now, there is the user's session ID in our fake request. So that way, we can change the user's password. That's also an example of insecure reset or the change function in applications. All right, so go ahead and close it. And I'll just show the result. So go to PHP My Admin interface of bbox, and then browse the users table. And this is the changed password. So search it on Google. Go to the first one, and here is the result. We're able to change the victim's password.